Welcome to On the Chain.
Let's do some Ripple news here. We got some other little kind of
A
clips to
lot of
play
good
here.
stuff going. Yeah.
But I'm going to play some clips here. We got some clips. They're just short little ones.
Go through the
They
short
kind of
video.
came out about, the Swell conference.
Ooh.
This one's scaling your business
Swell.
with crypto and blockchain.
After we adopt Ripple
Tan, SVP.
with the ODL as well,
Triangle.
it makes the whole transactions to be much more smoother. It used to take half a day at least. Right now it's only 5 minutes to get the funds from Australia all the way to Singapore within 5 minutes times, and it allows to create more business opportunity for us as well. So based on what we have seen after we have adopted, we have seen 15% growth from the day we start until today.
We can scale up, scale down. We know when our peaks are, and we can give these guys a heads up, the Ripple team a heads up. This is going to be the forecast we have ahead, and we've done that for we've got Lunar New Year coming up. It's a huge part of our year, and we know that that's not going to be. There's no roadblocks to that. These guys will know, our partners will know, and it's just an incredible sort of liberating process. We want to grow and without any roadblocks.
Without any roadblocks. Right?
That's really great. And there you go, man. I like that, moving money in 5 minutes. There's some really amazing things that are going on. And that's where, Ripple is ahead of the curve. It's really exciting to see what, a company can do, put up, forget about all their other issues, but, what they're doing from a cross-border payment solution perspective, amazing. Still not sure where I stand on their rollout of the CBDCs, but this is really all telling, to see the growth overseas where we're seeing a lack of growth here in the US market.
Yep.
Mainly because of what we just talked about, Tom Emmer, hit it out of the park, really the emphasis being on some of the power players that are in control, in power, and Gary Gensler, unfortunately being, one of them, but some of this stuff was going on, before he came.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that first clip we heard there, that was Marcus Tan. He's from Trianglo, and that I believe Ripple has like a 40% stake in Trianglo. And he was talking about how you move money. And then it was followed up by Diane Wen, who was basically from the Eastern Allied high money transfer. So you had two money transmitters talking about the value. And it's like, if a guy like Gary Gensler spent, I don't know, just maybe randomly clicked on this tweet, Jeff, and maybe watched, what is this? It's like it's not that long of a clip. I mean, how long is it? It's a minute clip. I mean, just educate yourself, man. Like, the use cases are ridiculously insane.
Dude, it's amazing. It's impressive.
And yeah, they're using Ripple software, but it's in conjunction with, but the SEC said they don't have a use case. This is the sad part. They go, it doesn't have a use case. And it doesn't have a use case. It has a hell of a use case, man. There's a use case everywhere, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But this is, let's look at this one here. This one's tokenization of real world assets. Another little clip from Swell here.
The real estate industry is obviously one of the most obvious spaces or industries to bring onto chain. We felt that we could use tokens to exchange value and build a better level of trust in these relationships.
From the perspective of recruiting high value talent for something like building a gigafactory in Nevada, being able to target and cryptographically prove that someone, for example, took a specific class, got a specific grade, participated in a specific club. These have tremendous economic value.
There you go. Tokenization,
right.
Jeff.
Man, that is, he hit something that's really critical. And it can, really focus in on licensing. You talk about, you take a certain class, you get a certain degree, you can verify and validate, what you've done. And you think about how that follows the transparency mechanism within the blockchain and the tokenization of the real world. I mean, it's just, we talk about it a lot, right? But now when you hear it coming from, their conversations at their conference, and these guys are living and breathing it every single day, it's really impressive because they're on the forefront trying to make the change. And there's obviously a lot of resistance. I would like to see it, even in academia. Imagine, if we had blockchain in academia and the tokenization of universities, think about, what that could, what that could do for future generations. I mean, it's really, yeah, there's so much validity to what they're saying, what they're emphasizing. And I'm looking, Chip, I'm looking at what they're talking about, what they're doing at the conference. And then, at the same time, just to kind of put and, just do a comparative on this is what's happening in the real world. Here they're talking about XRP poised to break new ground as Ripple unveils this new $1 trillion worth ODL corridor. So now you have a corridor getting ready to develop over in Africa. Huge amounts of money, mobile money value in Africa, the use of its fast and cost-effective on-demand liquidity service. So there they are. They're referencing it. They're talking about it, and then it's there in reality. It's being developed. It's being implemented. And so to really focus, and this brings me back, Chip, to one thing when Brad Garlinghouse was over in Dubai or in the Emirates somewhere, and they were talking, and he started referencing the lawsuit. And someone said, "Hey, you know what? They don't really over here. We don't really care. The whatever lawsuit you're facing, we don't really care about the SEC, and we don't care about the lawsuit in the U.S. because look what's going on. You got this massive, development chip, this massive marketplace right here. Look at this. The partnership with MFS Africa signals a move by Ripple to capture a considerable portion of the continent's $2.7 trillion market opportunity. Obviously, you can look at massive market opportunity, but this is so meaningful. And this is just overall because using ODL is significant, obviously, because of the fact that it's built on the XRPL. That's real world use case, despite, again, what Gary Gensler wants everyone to believe. That's the exact opposite.
Yeah. So I kind of want to segue back to this video because, again, going back to the first guy here, the first one to speak is John McCoy, and he's from Proper Home, and that's what we talked. That's the Portugal blockchain company.
The real estate industry is obviously one of the most obvious spaces or industries to bring onto chain.
He's absolutely right. It's one of the big. You think about you think about how big market caps are. You can look at precious metals, whatever, but when you start looking at the real estate, I mean, it's massive. So it is interesting that he's positioning it, and he says here that he feels like we could take the tokens.
We felt that we could use tokens to exchange value and build a better level of trust in these relationships.
Yeah, and those relationships. And let's look at this right here. So this is what we took a look at. I remember we looked, you and I flipped out about this like a week or two ago. And you remember they had they sold a home as an NFT. Here, this is actually the best of the three. This was about from Ripple Swell this is regulatory frameworks. This is Susan Freeman and from Ripple, and then Jess Halgrave, and she's the one from checkout.com.
I'm a big proponent that we should be regulating activity, but not technology. And conversations around should we be regulating NFTs, I don't think are very productive for the industry. I don't think they're productive for the wider perception, because what ends up happening is that we have unclear messaging going out to the wider public around what this is and the potential benefits it has, and we end up kind of all tied up in thinking about this thing called crypto, which we're told is volatile and dangerous and bad for consumers, and we ignore actually some of the real benefits that it can bring on a B2B level, for enterprise, for moving value around the world.
Let's move some value.
Exactly, Jeff. And it's so funny how she basically said about, I mean, what are we wasting time with all this other ridiculous stuff when really what she's talking about to the use case. Talking about the use case of crypto, where everybody else is like, oh, it's nefarious and Bitcoin and gangsters are using it and troublemakers. Yeah, great. But you know what? They probably have 100,000 years before they catch up to all the nefarious activity that's been happening with fiat currency. But doesn't stop that narrative from happening, Jeff. That narrative is like their soul, really.
But it's really important, because if we think about how you don't want to, attack, you don't want to attack the technology itself, and I think that's a big part of the problem, is that we have these individuals out there that are going after and focusing in on the technology, but not necessarily the players or, not necessarily the company. So if you take, what they're trying to do right now is an example. You look at FTX and they immediately, everything's always reactionary with the current administration, and sometimes zero reactionary, but think about from a fact that all of a sudden, FTX has this issue, and what are the power players, the politicians want to do? They immediately want to go through aggressive regulation. They don't want clarity. They don't want to go after and figure out why did FTX just defraud. There's rules and laws on the books that are supposed to protect individuals from bad players, like what FTX has done to harm people. All that stuff, all that negative activity is already illegal. So why would you then focus in then on the whole global market and not just focus on their bad action? And I think we're going to see a change of attitude start, moving forward from this point, where you have to then focus. You want clarity, like Tom Emmer is talking about, like Warren Davidson talks about. We want clarity. We want rules of the road, but we don't want what Biden talks about, or Warren talks about, or Gary Gensler talks about, which is aggressive enforcement style regulation.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.